So today I again have 7 stories for you, and many of these are recaps of things that have happened before and just kind of amplifying. But there's one story that's just going to be shocking in the way that, yes, this is what Russia's doing in order to fix their problems. So we'll get to that in just a moment. I want to start here with Hurricane Milton. It looks like it's passed over Florida, but I said yesterday, it was right for Joe Biden to sit tight and be here because of the damage that Hurricane Milton was going to cause. So here, I mean, we see some significant damage in Florida, and it's bad. Now, I haven't seen anything like this, purple sky like this before. There were multiple tornadoes with Hurricane Milton, and it was very odd. Now they're in Florida, and here's an alligator coming right up next to a car. Look at that thing. Yeah, let me show you that again. So as if the hurricane itself wasn't bad enough, you have alligators trying to, I guess, bite a car. So, yep, there you go. Okay, so, and then you see things like this. Ryan Macbeth was talking about how the images below supposedly indicate that FEMA sent electric chainsaws to hurricane-affected areas with no power. However, this was deceptive imagery persuasion. Now, people are trying to give the Biden administration a black eye with that kind of thing, and that's unfortunate that they would use this kind of situation in order to do that, but people will do this kind of thing. So, did Biden do the right thing canceling the Ramstein format? Yes. Does he need to have another one scheduled pretty quick? Yes. But he did the right thing because, like, just the amount of the political consequence that would come out of saying, well, see, he doesn't even care about his own country. He's over there doing that thing. Now, he needs to be doing that thing, but he also needs to be here, seen visibly, trying to help with the situation in Florida right now. So I'll give him the points for staying home as long as he starts another conference soon and has that conference. Okay, second big story. So yesterday I was talking about the Bob Woodward war book that's coming out, and so that's this one here. You can't quite see it on the screen, but Bob Woodward talked about fear, rage, peril. He's made a cottage industry out of criticizing Trump, and Trump has given him plenty of ammunition by which to do that. But he's also fairly biased, and so let's just take things with a grain of salt here. The White House stated that it had no confirmation of the secret phone conversations between Trump and Putin, as described in the book by American journalist, the Washington Post editor Bob Woodward, at the White House press secretary Jean-Pierre. However, she added, if these claims are true, it would be a matter of serious concern. Sure, but she's even saying from the White House, we don't have a record of that. That doesn't mean it didn't happen, but you got to take some of these things with a grain of salt. One of the things that I found troubling about this book, War, is that it was making it look like Zelensky, for example, was just caught off guard. He wasn't caught off guard. He was trying not to panic the population. So things can be manipulated, and you need to be aware of that sort of thing. Okay, let's talk about the next big story. This is another follow-up. The IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, captured more Russian and Iranian weapons. Is anyone still doubting that Russia is instigating every conflict around the world, says this person that put the post out. Russia's ruined the chance for our children to inherit a peaceful world. Well, not necessarily ruined, but they're not helping by a long shot, certainly. So there are Russian weapons, there are Iranian weapons, and they're being used in Israel to destroy Israelis. And so you just have to understand this is all connected. It's part of a bigger puzzle. Now, could it just be that the Russians are just selling this stuff? Sure. To make profit? Possibly. But that's, I don't think, what's happening. I think they have a stake in provoking conflict in other places to destabilize. And so that's follow-up number 3. Okay. Big story number 4. During my meeting with Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Keir Starmer, I outlined the details of our victory plan. Remember, he did this in Washington a couple weeks ago. We have agreed to work on it together with our allies. The victory plan aims to create the right conditions for a just end to the war. I thank the United Kingdom for its continued defense and support of our country, including with long-range weapons. Now, I don't know that he's actually going to get long-range weapons, but he's really working on long-range weapons. Here in UATV, he's quoted as saying this, and listen carefully to what he's saying, because this is what Ukraine needs to do to take the fight to Russia. They need to build their own homegrown rockets, missiles, etc., because they're not really getting them from the West. But once they get these, the center of gravity will shift significantly in the war. Just like the center of gravity shifted when they invaded Kursk, that's going to happen again with these missiles. Quote, the priorities of our defense industry for the next year are missiles, drones, projectiles, as well as the active attraction of investments from partners. Now, those missiles and drones and projectiles, all of that is going to change the terms of the fight in a significant way. It's going to happen over winter. I don't know how soon they can get this up and running in a meaningful way, but once they do, it's going to change things. Okay. Now, this is a story that I was like, you're not going to believe it unless I show you the evidence. Okay. So Russia deceives Africans into building drones for the war against Ukraine. So this is how Russia is going to backfill their labor shortages, because they have men going to slaughter and pulling them out of factories and sending them to the front in Ukraine. Over 200 African women, and that's not a lot, but this is going to be a model for elsewhere to draw people in, were promised studies in Europe. But upon arrival, they're forced to assemble UAVs in factories, reports the AP. So here's the actual AP article. Africans recruited to work in Russia say that they were duped into building drones for use in Ukraine. So here's the actual content of this article. The social media ads promised young African women a free plane ticket, money, and a faraway adventure in Europe. Just complete a computer game and a 100-word Russian vocabulary test. But instead of a work-study program in fields like hospitality and catering, some of them learned only after arriving on the steppes of Russia's Tatarstan region that they would be toiling in a factory to make weapons of war, assembling thousands of Iranian attack drones to be launched into Ukraine. So they're basically low-paid slaves that can't get home, and were duped into doing that. And that's Russia's method of backfilling the population that has been sent off to war from the factories. Like, if it wasn't in the AP, I wouldn't believe it either, but it's wow. Some women complained of long hours under constant surveillance, of broken promises about wages in the areas of study, and working with caustic chemicals that left their skin pockmarked and itching. To fill an urgent labor shortage in wartime Russia, the Kremlin has been recruiting women aged 18 to 22 from places like Uganda, Rwanda, Kenya, South Sudan, Sierra Leone, and Nigeria, as well as the South Asian country of Sri Lanka. The drive is expanding to elsewhere in Asia, as well as to Latin America. Now, when I talked yesterday about what was probable with North Korean men being sent to factories, they're doing it with African women. So is it probable that North Korean men are going to be doing that kind of thing too? I think so. Okay. This is just a fascinating and bizarre story. Putin's vassal, Chechnya Ramzan Kadyrov, summoned his army and police top officers and announced a blood revenge against a senator of the Federation Council of Russia. He claimed that they plotted his assassination. So he's telling them that we're going to go kill him. Like, okay, all right, so there's that. Putin was in a video conference, and he's known to favor his Brioni suits, and he demanded that a governor in the video conference tell him whether he was wearing a suit produced in Russia. And the governor answers, unfortunately, without a label, but it's made of domestic fabric, domestic production. That's great. Well, nice. This is what we should strive for, so that we would be happy to wear and use everything that surrounds us that is domestically produced and that is of the highest quality. Now, why is he saying that? Because he's trying to help the Russian economy. I guess it'll be made with African wage slaves, but nonetheless, it would be domestically produced. And then finally, folks, NATO's weakness created Putin's strength. Garry Kasparov says this, and I think he's right. The longer this goes on, the more expensive it's going to be. You could have cured this back in 2014, and we were asleep at the wheel. But the price of stopping a dictator always goes up. I think that's spot on. All right, my friends, that's all I have for you today. Thank you for the thoughts that you're going to put in the comments below. I appreciate that. I try to read as many as I can. Thanks for the likes, the shares, the subscribes, and thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.